Hello everybody, Sean here for Sean Talks Movies, and I'm here with a brand new instant reaction. Just got out of the theater from seeing War for the Planet of the Apes. This is the third in the new kind of reboot trilogy that the Planet of the Apes franchise has started to do. The first one came out in 2011, Rise of the Planet of the Apes, and then 2014 we saw Dawn of the Planet of the Apes, and now we have War for the Planet of the Apes, and this is a movie that everybody should see. I'm just going to start out by saying that this is the continuation of where things left off. Basically, things pick up shortly after the events of Dawn of the Planet of the Apes, and then we see Caesar, who is the motion capture performance by Andy Serkis, has led the apes into the woods, and he is living with them up there. And he's being attacked relatively consistently by a mysterious colonel, who we learn later is played by Woody Harrelson, but he's being attacked, and as we can imagine, humans are trying to eradicate apes from the planet. And during one of these raids, Caesar takes some personal losses, and he essentially sets out on sort of a revenge quest to get back at the Colonel for what he's done, and the rest of the story kind of follows from there. I don't want to give too much away because there's some interesting turns that this movie takes over the course of its runtime. However, I do want to talk about how fucking amazing this movie is, because this is an incredible movie, and it's definitely something that you guys should go check out. If you guys have not seen Rise or Dawn, go check those out first. Obviously, you need the continuation of the story, but this is just a fantastic movie all the way around. And I went in and knew it was getting really good reviews, and I wasn't really sure exactly what to expect because I'd heard some mixed things from people, but obviously the critics were really liking this movie, and I have to say that the critics definitely got this one 100% correct, because this movie is astounding. War for the Planet of the Apes is a smash hit, and there's just so much working with this movie. First of all, we have the performances. The motion capture performance from Andy Serkis, once again, is fantastic. We have a little bit of Toby Kebbell coming back, just reprising his role as Koba. It's not really a spoiler, I guess, but Toby Kebbell coming back. But the new one here for the motion capture stuff is Steve Zahn playing the comedic relief as a character called Bad Ape. He's amazing. He's very, very funny, and he definitely adds some comedy here and there that is much needed in this movie, because we get into some heavy stuff. But before I get into that, Woody Harrelson, fantastic. He's definitely playing a version of Kurtz from Apocalypse Now, and it's hard. I mean, I kind of had that in my mind going into this movie, but just seeing kind of the constructs of everything here, there's definitely a lot of allusion to Apocalypse Now in this movie, and that's not a bad thing. That is a very good thing, and I think that it's interesting that they kind of chose that route, because it works really well with this particular story and kind of everything that goes on. And again, I don't want to go too far into it, but great acting all around. The motion capture performances will always continually amaze me, because it's just incredible what they can do now, and Andy Serkis is a revelation once again. Of the 3 times he's now played this character, this is probably the best he has been, because we really get an added dose of gravitas to the role and to the character, and Caesar is a fully fleshed character in this one, and the CGI is amazing. It's incredible how good they have gotten, even in just this particular franchise. The first one blew everybody away. This one is so far beyond it, and everything, like, it looks real. It looks real, and that's like part of the selling point of how good this movie is. But then the storyline is so good, and it really makes you care about the characters. And kind of like we saw with the past movies, and especially with Dawn, we had the kind of the inner dialogue between the apes themselves kind of had to deal with the issue that Caesar could speak. He could speak like a human, and the rest of the apes couldn't. So we get a lot of what kind of works as almost a silent movie at certain points, because there's a lot of sign language and a lot of, just kind of the apes speaking to one another, but we get the subtitles underneath. And it's interesting, and it's nice to see that even though we're not getting this full dialogue that a lot of people are used to, this movie can still carry itself. And this is just one of those things, like, it's continually going to be one of these great movies, and I know I just got out of the theater, I'm just really, like, pumped and jazzed about this, but I want to talk kind of about the culmination of what this trilogy is, because this is hands down one of the greatest trilogies ever made. And I know I'm going out on a limb to say that. I know it's early and it just came out, but this is one of the greatest trilogies ever made, and they have consistently gotten better. The first one, I can't remember the director, but was directed by somebody else. Matt Reeves took over for Dawn, and he comes back for this one, and he knows how to direct an action movie that is not just a shoot-'em-up action, blow things up type thing. There is heart, there is emotion to this movie, just like there was with Dawn, and there is an incredible direction to this movie, and Matt Reeves deserves a ton of credit for making this movie what it is, because holy shit, this movie is so good. It's so good. But again, I mean, this is just a culmination of a great trilogy, and in a time where we're getting a lot of callbacks and returns to old franchises, we're seeing a lot of old franchises come back up into play. This is one that kind of did a little bit early. Obviously, we went back to this in 2011, and one thing that I really love about it is so many of these new sequels and kind of reboots of old franchises are getting into kind of the idea of it by focusing on nostalgia and really throwing all the nostalgia factor at you. These movies don't do that. There's little bits here and there. There's a couple of nods in this movie, and I don't want to give them away, but there's a couple of little nods just with particular characters that come into play in this particular movie, but they don't focus on it. They don't rely on it. They don't rub it in and say, hey, remember this from the old Charlton Heston thing? You know, they don't focus on that. That's not the point of this movie. It's a nice little callback, but then they just let it go. Unlike, you know, I mean, if you look at things like, this is the easy one, but like, you know, like those new Star Wars movies, it's all nostalgia. It's all just throwing shit out there to make you be like, oh, remember that? This movie doesn't focus on that. It rests on its own laurels, and that's what makes part of what makes it so good, because it's able to do its own thing and not have to rely on just these callbacks to make you be invested. This movie, this trilogy, again, and I know it's brand new, and I'm just really, really excited about it, but this is a day and age where I see enough movies that it's very, very difficult for me to really be wowed by these movies, and that's sad. I want to be wowed, and generally these big tentpole movies aren't the ones that are wowing me. I'm generally not really that excited about them, and I know there's a lot of people out there that are, but it's the smaller movies, the independent movies that really do kind of sit with me a little bit stronger. This is a tentpole movie. This is a summer blockbuster that works on so many different levels, and that is why this is so good, because it permeates more than just being the blockbuster popcorn movie. This is a movie, again, with heart, with emotion, with a truly great storytelling aspect, and it works on every single level. If you guys have not seen any of this particular trilogy, go check them out. Go see War for the Planet of the Apes, because this is the type of movie that everybody should be expecting from these summer tentpole movies. This is the standard of what we should be setting ourselves up with for these superhero movies, and all these, you know, the Fast and the Furious and all that shit that we get is just there to be these big action set piece type movies. And War for the Planet of the Apes and the rest of this Planet of the Apes trilogy has shown us that these types of movies can still bring that emotion and that character development and that beauty and that classic storytelling sense. And if we can get these big blockbuster movies to be more like War for the Planet of the Apes, we will be in a much better spot going forward as a film-going community and as a Hollywood filmmaking community, because this is the type of movie that they really need to make. Something that can put butts in the seats and still be an incredible experience. So I know I've kind of gone off on a tangent, but War for the Planet of the Apes, if you guys haven't checked it out, go see it. Go watch the whole trilogy. I am so goddamn excited about this. It is so good. Go check it out. And thank you guys for listening to this incredibly long-winded kind of diatribe about War for Planet of the Apes. But if you guys haven't checked it out, once again, go watch it. Thank you guys for watching. Make sure you're checking out all the social media links over in the description below, as well as checking out the Patreon page, which is where you can actually fund the show and kind of help things out with all that. Be sure to check out all the podcast stuff. All the links in the description below. I'm just really pumped up and hyped up right now, so I don't really want to get too much further. But thank you guys for watching this video, and thank you guys, and go check out this movie, War for Planet of the Apes. Go check it out. Fantastic shit.